Yes, ma'am.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. It gives me enormous pleasure to be talking to Noorjehan Bilgrami today. Noorjehan does not need any introduction. Noorjehan Bilgrami is a multidisciplinary artist, curator, and educationist. As the principal curator, she curated the inner journey for Pakistan Pavilion at Dubai Expo 2020. She was also the curator for the art project at the New International Airport, Islamabad. Noorjehan is a founder member of the Indus Valley School of Art and Architecture, IVS. She was its first executive director and former chairperson, Board of Governors. She's currently a member of the Board of Governors of IVS. She is grounded in the traditional crafts of Pakistan, and her atelier Koel spearheaded the revival of handloom weaving, hand block printing, and the use of natural dyes. Gallery Koel has provided a vibrant platform for new and emerging artists, and Noorjehan has curated over 200 exhibitions for the gallery. Her own art practice is meditative, exploring issues of inner reflection, while it touches upon universal themes. She has held numerous solo shows and participated in exhibitions in Pakistan and across the globe. She was the artist in residence at the Cicada Press, University of New South Wales, Sydney, Australia. And also, like, she's been part of several other artists in residency. So Noorjehan was awarded the Japan Foundation Fellowship to pursue research on natural indigo in Japan, and curated the exhibition Tana Bana, The Woven Soul of Pakistan, which was a traveling exhibition. Noorjehan has lectured at universities and museums in the US, Canada, Scandinavia, Australia, the Middle East, and Japan, contributed articles to several international journals, and presented papers at prestigious international conferences. Noorjehan's publications Sinjo Ajrak and film Sun, Fire, River Ajrak, Cloth from the Soil of Sindh, document the traditional textile. She curated the craft traditions of Pakistan, and Born of Fire, a profile of Pakistan's renowned ceramist Salahuddin Mia, and made a documentary film on it. So Noorjehan, should we just then talk about your latest project, the Pakistan Pavilion at Dubai Expo 2020? I personally haven't been to Dubai, but I've seen images, and you know, the entire world is talking about it. It's creating huge waves. The outside, of course, has been done by Rashid Rana, the renowned artist, and the inner journey you're the person behind that. Now, the entire structure, it seems to be a manifestation of the plethora of art forms you've been working with. And I really see it as an ode to your, long-standing legacy. So should we just go over, should we just get into the inner journey with you, and then, take it from there?
Thank you, Risham. You make me feel so humbled. Itna lamba choda. This is just a bit too much to hear about myself.
Usko jane bagaye, getting into the whole process, I think it's important for the audience to know where all of it is coming from.
Just before we begin, first of all, yes, thank you. Thanks, particularly the organizers for having us here, and the Faisalabad Literature Festival. It's wonderful to be participating in it, and for them to select us and to have Risham with me is a very comforting feeling altogether. I'd love to share what we have, but before we start on the inner journey, I will just, I must confess, it's one of the most challenging projects of my life. And I took it on because I just thought I'd never get this opportunity to, as what you said, Risham, to put together all that I've been exploring and studying and learning and looking into. It just seemed to open up where I could put everything together. So it's been a great learning again for me. It's been a whole learning curve, because despite the fact that we've been working on it for almost 3 years, a whole year went with the COVID where everything was kind of shut down. So whatever that happened, I think it's really a divine intervention, and that has enabled for it to fall together. And for the waves that it's creating, it's such an overwhelming response. I feel totally humbled, and I don't know how this has happened. But what we'll do is I'll just share some slides. And again, I apologize because the lighting is very subtle there. Therefore, the images are not as they should be. All of you should try and go and experience. It's a very experiential space. So words fail to explain what the whole, the whole experience is from the moment you enter to the moment. And of course, the dazzling exterior of Rashid sort of beckons everyone there. And then you enter the space, what we are calling Pakistan, the hidden treasure, until you leave. So do apologize for the quality of the images. They're not really doing justice to what the work is. Aisa karungi ke I'll try and talk a little about the process. It's all very process, the whole project is process based. And please stop me and ask me questions or whatever, Risham, that may help explain to our audience, and I'll just be rambling and we'll talk, we'll have a conversation as we go on. Okay. Shukriya. Can we get the screen? Okay. And in between, we'll also show little clips of video clips, because 70% of the experience is through film. And I really felt that we need to be sharing perhaps the most immersive way for a visitor to understand what Pakistan is all about is through film. So we do have artifacts or certain objects there depicting a culture and a heritage, but it's primarily the videos which are, and so the quality of the sound or the thing that you'll see, these are little clips that I've just put together also, just for you to get an idea of what it is. And so we would want the host to open the screen sharing for us. Actually, we should have done this before, but I apologize.
The host has to enable the participants to share the screen.
Just till this is enabled, to give you a little feeling about it, the pavilion was actually designed by an Iraqi Canadian architect, and this was like with the other previous government, and so we inherited the structure, and we had to live within the structure as we inherited. So Rashid had to work with the outer, while I had to work with the inner journey with what there was. We couldn't make any changes. It was too late by the time we got to work on it. And so it was really very, very challenging. There are 8 spaces altogether, and we'll begin from here. While this is on, I'll just start. I'll also talk about other things. And Risham, aap jab bhi kuch puchna hai, puchte jaiye. Let it be a very informal conversation that we have.
So Noorjehan, when was this building done in the first place? Like, when was it made? Because humne to abhi finally dekhe, and somehow everything's magically appeared.
Yeah.
So, but it must have been going on for a while.
So 3 years back, when we started talking about it, it was all designed, and then it has to go through all the final approvals by the authorities. That had all been done by the time we came in. And so but nothing could be changed because it was a very tedious process of getting the approvals through the Expo authorities. So that was done by the previous government. And when this was inherited by this government and really spearheaded by Akhtar Razak Daud Sahab, the advisor to PM, he really, really took this project down the road. So he enabled it to happen. So we couldn't change whatever was given to us. And so we literally, this is the front door, and as we, I'll just make you ask. So it's, as you had seen the form, I'm not showing you the exterior, and those who saw the presentation by Rashid knows they're like conical spheres. There are 8 areas. You kind of go up, and then there's a bridge ramp, and you start ascending down. So once you enter, you have to go through the whole thing, the journey, before you come out of it. So it was very difficult because there are no 2 rooms which are of the same size, and there are no 2 walls which are of the same thing, because they keep changing in its angles and in the sizes and dimension. But I think that itself, when you have a lot of limitations, then it pushes you into actually working out.
Absolutely.
And Risham, also, probably I'm speaking too much, but before we proceed,
we need the insight into the whole process as well. So sirf agar isko full screen kar le, because I can see the thumbnails as well.
Get that happening. Is that better?
Yeah, this is fine.
Okay. I worked with craftsmen, filmmakers, as I told you, and artists, and musicians, music composers, and sculptors. I mean, everybody who ever could contribute, but anybody, I mean, according to what the work required, but it's all kind of done by hand and all through creative processes. And a lot of scholars and historians, both local and international, contributed in my moving forward. So this is the entry point. And as you see those triangles on the doorway, it was just, we again inherited that door. So we had to work with this glass door within the same frame. Yeah, there are a lot of limitations. One had to work with the same flooring that was given to us. This was done in Peshawar, and my whole idea was to engage all the provinces and not make it easier and work from Sindh alone. So we tried to get craftsmen from all over. And so this was in Peshawar that we worked with copper triangles, and I think inspired by Rashid's geometry that this moves. So these were hand-beaten copper triangles made in Peshawar, which are pasted on the glass. And that's where we begin our journey from. And just as you enter, there's a small entrance lobby. This is a ceiling which was made in Nasarpur of Kashi, which has been famous for it still continues to be so. Designed by Sadia Salim and inspired by Makli, one of the ceilings of Makli. And this was all made here and then installed. And all the work was done at the time of COVID as well. I don't know how for it to be completed.
Sorry, what's the scale, Noorjehan? I mean, I haven't seen it, so I just want to
yes,
visualize.
This is about this ceiling. It was 7 feet by 7 feet, but the width here of the entrance is like 10 feet when you enter. It's a small entryway, and then you have the ceiling. And I won't go into the details of what problems that we had there, but every corner, everything has a story behind it, and someday. Gee. So this is the first room which was actually dedicated to the history. And I just felt it's time that we owned all that has happened on our land. And so these were the kind of challenges of getting the stakeholders to come on the same platform and to start saying that, we need to acknowledge and pay tribute to what has been on our land. So this motif that you see on the left is inspired by Mehergarh. It was we'll show a little later also, it was a clay tile, as you can see here. That motif was on it, and inspired by that, Fahim Rao in Karachi, made in brass. This is about 4 feet dia of this brass sculpture that is there. And right next to it starts the timeline. The whole thing is lovely with the sound and everything, which I wish I could have been able to make you all hear that. Everywhere there's a large screen. So simultaneously in this room, there's a film running. So the sound of that, I played a lot of importance to the audio with the visual. So nothing is just by itself.
Okay.
The sound has played a very, very important role in the entire inner pavilion and also the outside.
So I've been hearing like from the little clips that I've seen, there's the music outside. So was that done particularly for the
This was, that was, we called it the signature tune of the pavilion that was commissioned to Rohel Hayat of Coke Studios. And he composed that particularly for wherever that, it's a signature tune for the thing. But once you enter, you hear that outside, but once you enter in, then there's the sound of the music of the film that takes over in each area. So here I'll show you, and we'll go through a little clip of the film later. But this is just a detail of Fahim Rao's sculpture. Harappa, and we are just so fortunate. And these are the things that I felt it's time that we brought our craftsmen onto a level of, and that has been always my, a part of my work, is to how do we make contemporize and accept and pay tribute to our craftsmen. So this is Aladita, whose father was really, really renowned, Nawaz, who passed away, and he's been actually tutored by Dr. Mark Kanoya, and Dr. Mark Kanoya kind of looked into this. Each piece that we have here was specially made for the exhibition. And this is all following the exact dimensions that are there in the Harappan Museum, or which have been, so everything has been really well researched and worked out. So ye hamara Aladita ka tha. Further down in the room,
really beautiful color now, and it's going so beautifully with the gray of the wall.
Absolutely. This is, the jewelry that was worn at that time. So these are all handcrafted, the bangles, and just how much you're firing. And then the little yogi people, and then the bullock carts and animals. It's fantastic because it appeals to all ages. So you have little kids coming and standing and just dying to get hold of it and play with it. So the appeal, what was made 5,000 years back, is still so tactile and fabulous. So,
are there like is there like a shop where one can buy?
Sadly, everything that was meant to have been dovetailed and happen, there is a bazaar shop. We do have a few things there that you can buy. Sab kuch nahi ho saka, aur hona chahiye. We still have 4 months, Risham. So this is one of it. I mean, I don't want to go into the reasons why it didn't happen. It should have happened. It is going to be happening. It's in the process. But yes, I mean, these are things that not only the shop there, but it should be easily available to all of us.
I mean, this is stunning.
And why is it not?
It's so beautiful.
And why is it not being part of our lives? So yeah. Next. Oops, what happened? You're showing the film. Okay, so we're going to share this film, which has been, just wait for a sec. This was actually produced by Mazhar Zaidi of Matila Films, and he's based in UK and works with Farjad Nabi and in Lahore. So they were asked to actually, this is called The Dawn of Civilization. And I'm sorry, thoda sa sound vagaira mein hai, but these are just glimpses of what you will see. It's a very large screen. As you enter, this comes on your right-hand side. You're heralded by the pottery on the right. On the left-hand side was a timeline. And I didn't talk about the timeline a little bit more, that the timeline after the Mehergarh motif is a timeline, which is a copper line, literally. And I had Naveed Sadek, a miniature painter, who went and spent almost 2 months in Dubai painting on the wall. Despite everyone said, pieces pe banao, like jao, but I wanted that whole fresco feeling.
Right.
And it's beautifully executed.
I've seen clips of him working on the wall, and that was, I mean, just the process sounds so beautiful.
And, so it starts from Mehergarh motif and right up to 1947. So it just puts across the different times and different eras that we have gone through. And Muhammad bin Qasim comes in the center, where normally our history begins from there. So I'll just share this little video clip. So what he's done, he's covered Mehergarh, the Indus Valley civilization, Taxila, the Mughal period, and then the Sikh period in a 6-minute film, which is on the loop that happens. So the sound of this sort of fills up this first space from here. And idhar se, because the last is like the Sikh period, you move into the Sheesh Mahal, which we call the Path of Mirrors. Or isse pehle, I've just got put across, I was really inspired by Surah Noor, and I wanted to, again, one of the things, objective was like, the whole idea was to change the perception of Pakistan in everybody's eyes, hum log ke khud ke, ourselves, and also then the world. And of course, what was given to me, the outline was like, try and get the tourism and investment as the main reason for why this pavilion was laid. But unless people changed the way they would look at Pakistan, and for us to get that kind of feeling of pride, nothing would actually happen. So wo jitni cheezein jo mujhe bahut saalon se it's sort of inside in all of us, I tried to synthesize that in the space that was given. So from this room is a long, narrow corridor, which goes through. That I thought would be a good idea to give it a very immersive, experiential feeling here. So we've got like the patterns from the top, as you can see in this picture, which reflect down. And on the sides, we have, this is, I can talk for hours on how we got these ainakari done, inspired, of course, by the Sheesh Mahal. And our craftsmen absolutely, this is like almost on the verge of gone. And so after a lot of research, came to know it was really the convex mirrors on which this was done. And these were actually made, these mirrors either came from Venice or they were made in Shikarpur. And I started searching for the factory and trying to ask people, Ke kahan hai? And I had COVID at that time. So it was all, on the telephone and finding out. People living in Shikarpur had absolutely no clue till I came to know one of the NCS students who actually lived in Shikarpur. He said, he'll search. I got a number. And we tracked down 2 factories. And these are again such learning for me, because kahin nahi likha hua hai, kuch nahi malum, nobody knows, it's never been recorded. The most amazing glass blowing factories. And they're continuing to do the process because they use the little milk. The whole thing is very fragile. So the bottles, which are gorgeous when it's blown, they just break and crumble. And the little pieces are still made smaller and used for embroidery, the mirrors in our embroidery and on the caps that you have. So shisha becha jata hai, uska bana ke, and they've been continuing. Sorry?
That's done in Chicago? These factories are functional, alive factories.
These have been there, but there's been no record. Nobody knows. except that they supply to the market and the mirror is there. So please don't tell too many people about us, because already the Chinese, they're trying to make the mirrors and sell it at about quarter the price. Behral, for our purpose, we actually had all the mirrors made in Shikarpur. And so it was fantastic. And Ustad Rafaqat Ali, he passed away just after he completed all the work. We set up a factory at the Expo Center. We set up 2 halls where we started working on this. And through the Lahore Fort, we got actually wonderful sort of photographs of all our the patterns, and we blew it up to a large scale. And so the whole wall is made of these mirrors, and then it was made here and then transported there. But it was a great high of learning and, connecting everybody, and for the craftsmen as well. And for all of us, it was just learning through the whole experience of it. Along with this, at the fort, if you notice that we've got small frescoes. Again, I blew them up on the scale. And so we also have a couple of very large frescoes that have been done by Akif Suri and his team. So this was all done during COVID in the Expo Center. Ek taraf sabko vaccination lag rahe, dusri taraf ye ho raha, masks and all. So it was really quite a challenging, trying period, but mashallah, it's all come together. This is just a detail of the fresco to try and make it what it was. This, it's not doing justice because there's just so much of detailing. Have you got a couple of this? This is again fabulous. So this team painted these. So we've got juxtaposition, the large mirror panels, and then we've got these frescoes. And then the other part of the corridor, and so we also have the light which has been reflected. Notice, Jagay, I've got motia ki khushbu also. So you enter here, it transports you to another level altogether. And the 2 sides towards the end, Umar Riaz actually filmed the Sheesh Mahal, and we have Abrar Qazi who has done video mapping, projection mapping. So we have this sort of slightly moving up this image that you see of the actual mirror. So there's like, the actual film, and then we've got what we've replicated in. And then we have Roshanara, Kakedara. So just make you hear a little clip of that. So you hear that sound as you walk through this.
This is so beautiful.
Isn't it? And then right at the end of the corridor, we just had this projection of the, can we just go back? And, what we had shown earlier, because we use the convex mirrors, as you stand in front of it, aapki naturally puri images go on all of them. So the people are really quite mesmerized and selfie lete hain, and the music just. The idea, Risham, also for me, for this entire pavilion, right from the start, was how do you bring the terror? There are 195, I think, pavilions in this whole expo. And people are rushing, from moving from one to the other. So I definitely didn't want to end up with putting हमारी इंडस्ट्री के ये गुलटेक्स का ये है या वो मार्बल का है फला फला. So the idea was also to bring that ठहराव, to bring that pause. Can somebody come in and just stop and listen and feel? How do you talk about these things? It's all those abstract qualities. And this is very part of our living, so it was not like it was a big installation, but in the installation, it was all about those qualities of our life, which are, we are losing out because of the kind of a mad pace we are running in. So when I'm asked to talk or write about anything, it's very difficult to put it in words because, and even over there, when I'm there, then I would tell everybody, please ruk jaye, walk slowly, just watch how the light is falling or listen to the music and breathe in the fragrance that is there, because I think all these elements then can create whatever that one is trying to say. Then we're saying, trying to show that what is our purity of religion at the end of it and not just rushing. Okay, I think and oh gosh, have we finished that time? Seems like I'm talking too much. Okay, let's quickly move to the
I was actually going to ask you, and maybe you have answered it in a way, unless you want to add something to it. I was just going to say, the Expo exhibits, they somehow represent a sense of inclusivity across art forms. There is a lot of material and there's the experiential thing. There's motia, there is music, AR, VR, there's fabric, clay, and the culture, it's represented in different ways. So what was there like a criteria behind the selection? I mean, partly to apne ka, of course, you wanted that, experience in and I'm sure that's coming from your own, experience of material and all these, different forms. वो तो होगा ही, of course. But उसके अलावा कोई और चीज, was there any other criteria?
Was to find the best that we have in Pakistan, because you're trying to put across to the world and on such a global platform, you had to find the people who had excelled. So you're looking at Ustad, jo usme agar awaz, for me, I could only think of Roshan Ara Begum, for example, over there using a sound, a voice. And Ustad Rafaqat Ali, I don't know if there's anybody parallel to that. And Naveed, again, he has a terao to be able to paint those miniatures. Or Fahim had actually worked with once for the airport also, we had done a Mehergar, and I felt that really needed to come there. Then the filmmakers, who I just felt had to be on that wavelength to be able to communicate and get the essence, because the film really has to be, the essence of all that is moving and everything that's put across, and technically sound. So I think I was looking for the best that one could, and that was the criteria, to find the master craftsman and the master in whatever there was. And again, there was so much to sift through, just even what to show and what not to show. Where do you draw the line? We can have so many pavilions within Pakistan, which we need to do. We need to be paying tribute and putting this out for our own people. Like right now, what you're seeing here, this is the largest room, and which was actually given as, I'm calling it Haven of Natural Wonders. It was all to do with landscape. You can't make out, but the scale of these, the right and left, are huge screens, and it was very high ceiling. So I wanted to really have a very immersive experience here. And we found out a lot of people who had been filming, and Nisar Malik has been doing BBC photography and has actually filmed for National Geographic. And we approached him to film in this, from one end of the country to the other. Look at the landscape we have. It's phenomenal, and the diversity that there is. And he's done a brilliant job here. And I'm trying to speak quickly. I think we're running short of time, perhaps. And there's like that boat was like another phenomenal learning and I think great happening that took place. This was in Sakkar, and I wanted, here in this room, I've got two ancient cultures depicted. I just wanted two installations in this very large landscape where you really feel like you're reduced to a mere dust particle. Jab aap north jaate to you get that kind of a feeling. So I wanted the Mohanas and the Kalash communities to be placed here. And I just felt like one boat would be significant. Dhulne gaye, so there's no boat of the Mohanas that is there in any museum. There's one in Lokpirsa, which is really sad. And nothing. I had taken some, photographed a Mohana boat about 30 years back when I was doing some documentation for the crafts in Sakkar. Then I found some more archival pictures, then came across people of the Mohana community then who pulled in the craftsmen who used to work on it. And we did this 22 feet long boat. And after 60 years, they're saying Sakkar ne kisi ne boat banaya. Or itni excitement thi, because it's this whole technique of how do you start curving the boat, curving the wood to make it happen. To have a couple of we don't have it from the back, but anyway.
So the skills are still there. I mean, those are not forgotten.
Ji?
Jo skills they're still there. They're not forgotten.
But they're doing something else. The boats are made as smaller boats, painted and green blue, and just not being used. These were boats in which they lived. पूरी community रहती थी, पूरा घर खानदान सब इसमें होता था. So and they just went crazy.
This becomes like such an important exercise in documentation of,
absolutely.
Whatever.
So we documented the entire boat making, and we got a little TV running there with the whole boat making process from the wood, how it's done and how the wood is slowly, you wet it and then it starts curving, and I mean, there's a lot. And then finally, they went absolutely crazy, carving away more than what was asked of them, because they just wanted to be really Shahana. And everybody would come and watch in Sakkar where they were making it, that, gosh, what is this happening? So, I mean, is qisam ki cheezein bahut mazedar hui hain, that it's just been, I think, lifetime experience. And then again, for people they just didn't know about all this. There's so many Pakistanis who have no idea. And so in the same room from the Sakkar, this thing I thought of the Kalasha, and so we've got the pattu, which was woven by the master craftsman sitting there, and really narrow bits, and again using all the natural from the off-white, all the colors of the goat ke, unke bhede ke, wool ke, and then these are Kohistani dresses that I put in, because the Kalasha clothes are on there. I've got the kupas, shishud, the headdress that are placed there. And at the back, I've got some images of old pictures of the people wearing the Kalasha costume. This whole room evokes something. We had about 40 architects who visited here, just quickly to say that. After the landscape film finished one loop, they all stood up and they started singing the national anthem. People have tears in their eyes. Now, what does one say about this? That how has it happened? This is all what we have. There's nothing that I've added here that is brought in that is not happening. It's all made now. So it's just, I think it's an eye-opener for us to re-look into what is art colleges doing, and it's time that we really looked inwards and started producing. Okay, I'm going to show a video of the landscape, slightly longer than that, and you can stop wherever you feel like it, just to give you an idea of what the landscape we have, made by Nisar Malik. Would you be able to? Nahi, pehli wali. Oops. just some glimpses. But the scale is enormous. It just, the impact is goes on. So Mahasi, then we move again because the building is such into, again, a very narrow corridor. It's a passage from the very large room. Just painted it dark, it's just black. And we have this red cloth which is suspended on top. So sorry, can you just go back? And in front is a long screen, and Jami of Azad Films has produced further. This leads into, this is space 4, as we call it, into sacred spaces. This was one of the wishes of PM. He wanted actually to show the diversity of our religion and to acknowledge all the different religions that are existing, which was fantastic for me to work on that. And Jami was given this brief to try and document, and so we've got their rituals and their celebrations. But this leads through the sound of the music. You sort of, from that landscape, you start, it sort of beckons you to come in there. It's all this red glow under which you walk, and there's a film that's running. And then you walk into, again, a very complicated room that was given to me. Where you see the balcony on the left-hand side, you kind of look down. And I put a huge screen on the left where you see the mountains at the moment. It goes right down from the eye level. And this black thing right in front was a staircase with this wall there. And I've used Shah Rukh-e-Alam, a window which was taken from that and readapted here as a kind of a frieze. On the right-hand side would be Naqash, which will show you, and then this is space 5. Again, the Jali has the pattern coming down. And so you can see this is the Naqash panel, which was again done by he passed away that I just told you. Ustad Rafaqat Ali finished all of this, just incredible. This was inspired by Wazir Khan Masjid, and we just, studied the patterns and worked here with him, just to get them to start looking at color that used to be there. It's a whole 3 years of working with it. And they would say, "Haan, Bibi, aap sahi keh rahi hai," but there would be this whole fight, nahi, but this is what it is. Then go on. So on the left hand, again, the wall sort of curves, and Afan Bakpati makes these small little metal sculptures. And I said, just go completely mad. Let's blow your sarmadanis and make it into sort of icons. So we've got these huge, iconic metal sculptures that have come here, which really works beautifully under this. And again, as I said, the pattern is there. This leads towards another, there's a video there, very large screen. There's another video running right next to this chadar, and I'll talk about the chadar, and yet another video screen which shows the architecture. The sound of that is separate to the sound of the other film. What we'll show you a little clip is like encompassing. He's done a little short clip for me. But when I was doing this, iske piche itne bachakal cheezein thi. I wanted a kind of a drape, and everything just happens beautifully. It sort of came my way. This was literally from Shahbaz Qalandar's shrine, and it was given to her. And it was full of fragrance of roses right there. And so we have this chadar, which is there from actually a genuine piece from Lal Shahbaz Qalandar's piece. Do you want to quickly show that? I think we're running short of time as well, probably.
I think so too.
I think I've spoken and shown too much. Chota dekh le, agar nahi to phir hum band kar denge. Do you want to show this film or no?
Actually, maybe we can take a few more minutes and then
let's talk about it, and then we won't show this film right now. Maybe we should leave it for them to go. But just quickly to end, this leads onto a bridge. You can just show the images of that, and as we finish off, we can start talking about any questions that you need. You come out from there onto this bridge, and you hear the other music, as I was saying, and then you go to there's the ramp that sort of leads you down, and it's more about the present Pakistan. And there's again a film showing there, and we've got a central large salt from our salt mine, the pink rock salt, Kyoda, Kipura, and it's got small properties of the the different, it has about 85 different minerals, so some of them are levitating. So this is a room where you feel that, yes, okay, there's high tech that's coming in. Halaki har jagah, the film is done in a very high tech manner. And this leads to a narrow ramp that goes down. And this is again inspired by the Billion Tree Project. And we've got bamboos and suspended there and laser beams coming from that. So as you walk past and you put your hand under it, as the beam gets cut, you start hearing sounds of koyal, mena, and aage bilkul, as you see where you turn, I have a mangrove a film on, you're going on a boat, you feel that you're going down the mangroves. So it's all to do with sustainability and how important all these elements are. And you get the feeling of being in the forest as you walk through here on the swarm. And this leads out from here onto Space 8. And that there's a film on the crafts, which is, again, I'm not going into it. So Risham asked me questions and to end it all up.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just absolutely, I mean, I'm speechless, and I just want to, thank you for, opening our own eyes to this inner journey. And it's such an important exercise that's been done. It's kind of, it's preserving so much talent and skill and heritage and history and art. And it's been done so beautifully. I'm so excited to now. I mean, I'm completely speechless, and and I'm really looking forward to it. And the way you like this art and जो history के साथ relationship है art का, and how you've made it so accessible to people, that's just incredible.
It was interesting. Today was the opening of Aisha Khalid's exhibition retrospective, and she spoke very well. I said, oh, she's speaking exactly what I wanted to speak to Risham about. Art is part of our life in everything. हम लोग भूल जाते हैं, हम art को अलग-अलग इतनी आदत हो गई है that we kind of put everything into compartments. It's not like that. It's all one. And we just have to open ourselves to start looking at the beauty there is in everything. Sadly, we just put art away like on a shelf. It isn't that. So we should embrace and bring it back into our lives. And you know about music, how important that is. The sound, and all that is part of it. Why is it something just into little bits? I think they have to be all brought together, synthesized.
Thank you so much, Noorjehan. I think we've really run out of time. And I want to thank, Faisalabad Literary Festival, the organizers, for giving me the privilege, the honor actually of talking to you today. And I hope, you can, you continue with this, all this experience. And, I'm just imagining all those moving moments that you went through working with all these ustads. And I hope more of such, possibilities, come about.
Thank you, Risham. Before we end, I'm just going to say take one more second. There's a plea, actually, I'm saying because we've got hopefully an audience listening. There's a plea to the government that we should bring this, especially apart from Rashid's, the inner journey back to our main cities should become part of our teaching. And it should be something to continue with, adding documentation, what we spoke about. I think this is our heritage, which needs to be owned by us here as part of our curriculum and part of our teaching in all, not just the art school, but everywhere. So just on that note, and thank you for this privilege, Shiva, and everybody there. Thank you, Risham, for being so wonderful. That is.